Hey, folks. Council is on break. It's the August 26th, 2026 Regina City Council meeting. This is their second of two meetings this week. Yesterday, it was a budget preview. You know what happened? I had a bunch of work to do yesterday, so I kind of like bailed on that meeting partway through. And then when my work was done and I had time to go back to the meeting, I was like, why don't I go have some ice cream with my son? And I did that instead of watching City Council. Apologies, but it was very good ice cream, and my son is very good company. Anyways, so now today is the regular City Council meeting. The only thing that they've done so far is they've started in on councillor sick leases, project services prioritization motion. I do believe that's what it's called. How about this? I will call that up so we can take a look at it as a team here. Yeah. No. Not that button. This button. There we go. All right. So that is the first page of his motion here. And so I can see it all. So therefore be it resolved, prepare a report respecting work plan, blah, 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 to be brought to council at August 26th, but like that's today, so that date would have had to have been adjusted. So what they want to do, and I talked about this in my live stream on Monday, it's about classifying all city services as core or / mandatory or hybrid or discretionary. So core services, discretionary services, and then stuff that falls in between, presumably so that council can like look down a list of discretionary things and go, cut them all, bring down the mill rate. Well, the mill rate increase. And then let's go to the next page here. And then, this thing here at the bottom, which is being blocked by my massive head. Options and recommendations, requests options and recommendations for a 3 to 5 year service excellence and sustainability plan that could reduce annual spending overall by optimizing discretionary services while protecting and strengthening core services. Optimize discretionary, which is another word for cut discretionary, while protecting and strengthening core services. So put more money in core, cut from discretionary, therefore reducing property taxes collected by 5 to 10%. That's a huge cut. Okay, I got to go get some beans on the go here, or else I won't be able to get a coffee before council's back in session. But yeah, so far it does not look like this motion is going to pass, if I had to guess. The debate's been pretty clear that most people are, it's a good idea to keep the, what's core and what's discretionary in mind, but this might not be the way to go about it. The motion asks to get this information back to Finance and Audit Committee by, I think it was October or November of this year. Is right here. Yeah, Finance, and it's right here. Finance and Audit Committee by the October 29th meeting. Administration just said this is a huge request. We cannot get this to you by October 9th or 29th if this passes. We need water. But I think the most sort of impressive. So Councillor Zakidniak had a bunch of questions, and she just basically asked administration, like, who's supposed to be setting what's core and what's discretionary? And the city manager pointed out that, that's council's job. Like, that's why they're there. That's why you have a city council, is to make determinations about what should be administration's priority. Administration's job is strictly to implement the requests of council. So, point well taken. And it's also been raised that there was a thing called a core services review. It actually predated my time covering city council by a little bit. That was the big core services review. It was done under FIACO, and it was run by a guy named Glenn Davies, who was a consultant, who then, after the core services review, became our city manager for a number of years. He was the city manager when I started here. And yeah, so you not only got a core services review, you got a city manager who made it his job, who took on implementing that core services review, which was supposed to, focus what council did on the core stuff and find efficiencies everywhere. And the city manager pointed out, finding efficiencies. We got that message a long time ago, trying to find new efficiencies at City Hall. We've been doing that every day for years. That's part of our daily grind, is coming up with efficiencies. Yeah, sorry, I should have made some notes before I turn this on. But I really need a coffee. Councillor Turnbull raised a couple interesting points and got a lot of crap for it. She pointed out that City Council put together a strategic plan. And the strategic plan lists what City Council thinks is important and what they want to focus their attention on this term. She also pointed out that the city had retained a consultant to go through all of our capital projects and work out which capital projects are, mission critical and which capital projects the city can wait on. They've done this work. And she pointed out that, we meaning council, did all that work together as a council, setting our priorities. And then she pointed out that what council didn't do as a team was set a target of reducing property taxes by 5 to 10%. And what City Council didn't do as a group was say, we will, start the discussion of that 5 to 10% in reductions, or whatever comes out of this review, at the Audit and Finance Committee, where only 3 councillors sit. And so she seemed very annoyed that Councillor Siklis was kind of with this motion implicitly, whether knowingly or unknowingly, I suspect unknowingly, kind of circumventing all of this work that City Council did as a group and turning it into something where he was going to set a priority for council with this motion, or sort of force through a priority with this motion. And then it would, the discussion would start at a committee that doesn't involve all of council. So she felt this was sort of circumventing that whole strategic plan process that they had just gone through. It's a good damn point, don't you think? And I've mentioned this before, that there does seem to be a little bit of empire building going on amongst the members of Finance and Audit, where they're trying to get, they want to be the ones making all the recommendations about pretty much everything. But then I could say the same thing for the Accessibility Committee and what Turnbull is doing there. These committees are supposed to advise council. That's it. City councilors on those committees are supposed to be asking questions and getting context so that they can better advise their colleagues during executive and council meetings. These advisory bodies are making recommendations. That's why, with like Planning Commission, it took me a while to catch on to this when I first started covering council. Planning Commission would make a recommendation to not do something, and then that recommendation would still go to council. And I didn't get that at first, but that's because it's an advisory body. That say no, that like no vote at Planning Commission was strictly a recommendation to council to consider. And council, frequently in my first few years here, council was ignoring Planning Commission on a lot of things. So, so the discussion of this has basically been going in circles. And I thought it was funny. Councillor Bizot raised a point of order after Turnbull spoke, basically saying that anybody can bring a motion to do anything. And if you don't like what's being done in the motion, like this 5 to 10% reduction and this going to Audit and Finance, you vote no. And, that is also a fair point. Yeah. Administration, city manager, Jim Nicol has been on fire. His point about how this very much reads like an attempt by city council to avoid making hard decisions, right? Like if they get a template where administration has outlined what's discretionary, council doesn't have to make that decision anymore, right? And so Nicol's point, Nicol being the acting city manager, is that there is no easy way out for council, and that the Cities Act basically says that, this is what council's job is to make decisions about what priorities the city should be pursuing. And that's not administration's job. Sickless counters by saying that, he just wanted city administration to start the work, but that council would ultimately make the decisions. I'm going to plunger my coffee now. Oh, this is going to be a good one. I can tell. I can just feel it through the arms. God. At one point in this whole discussion, I can't remember who asked the question, but they basically, wanted to know what kinds of things administration would consider core. Oh, I think it was Flores, actually. And so administration, the city manager said, I'll ask my deputy city managers to go around the room and run through what each department does. And I'm like, oh my God, how embarrassing. Because that's kind of what this whole meeting is our city council, once again, having to be reminded what it is that City Hall does, right? Like having to be run through in minute detail how the city works once again. It was embarrassing. Like, God, what a pack of goobers. Like that, because that's what this whole thing is, right? Like that these guys don't understand what is going on at City Hall, that they actually think administration is running off and doing things they don't like building a pool or buying electric buses on their own without any sense of the costs or any sense of the benefits. And they're just doing it because of wokeness. And not that it was what, council voted to do. They may not have been on council at the time. If they'd been paying attention, they would have known about the discussions that went on. But instead, they're coming in at the end, peeved that someone else would have the temerity to make a decision about the city that they didn't like. And then they hide behind their own residents saying, well, I'm not saying that I want to impose my ideological preconceptions or my ideological inclinations on the city's priorities. I'm just reflecting what my residents are telling me. Right. Sure. I bet. Question from Councillor Burton was asking if city administration is using metrics in their day-to-day activities. Of course they are. So then we had to go around again and have deputy city managers explain how, are you asking if we use KPIs and adjust what we're doing based on what the KPIs tell us? Yes, we have KPIs. We're monitoring them all the time. Of course, I didn't say it as sarcastically as I am. Oh, God, what a waste of fucking time. So, yeah. I think after the city manager's first speech and after Councillor Zakidniak's questioning, I think we could have just ended it there. I think most people would come out of this and say, yeah, if the city manager is coming out this strongly against a motion of council, this is probably not a good idea. Oh my God, Councillor Mancinelli even pointed out, he's traveling, so he was sounded like he was in an airplane or something. he pointed out that we've done core services reviews and we've done efficiency reviews many times already, and that they're just buzzwords and they sound good. And then he said at last budget, we had the opportunity to make cuts, but faced with public pushback, we chickened out and didn't make those cuts. So we already know how this core service review is going to turn out. You're going to get like a bunch of stuff that you get told you can cut. He didn't say this part. I'm expanding upon Mancinelli's comments. He pointed out Massey Pool. Massey Pool is in a situation where they're spending more than they should to maintain this pool because it's well beyond its usable life. I've had people reach out to me who are in like procurement and facility maintenance who said, yeah, the numbers that Massey Pool, the numbers on Massey Pool are really bad. This is not an amenity that we should keep running. It's something that needs to get retired so that there are resources freed up to make another pool or to support the pool that we're making. Yeah, and so that came up at council last year. Massey Pool is on the list of potential cuts. Community outrage was huge. And a guy like Councillor Rasevich, who's constantly running around pointing at things going, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. He looked at the numbers for Massey Pool, which were pretty clear, saying, we've got to get rid of this. And he was like, ooh, that's my ward. I don't think I can get rid of that. And yeah, so he voted to keep Massey Pool running, even though city administration is saying that Massey Pool is just a black hole for investment right now. It's time to put her down. Oh, sorry, that's a terrible metaphor. It's time to like retire, send it out, send the memories of Massey Pool out to pasture and make something else that people can love. Yeah, and then Rasevich spoke. Oh my God. So Rasevich was just basically saying, look, this is what I'm hearing, that there are things on the list of activities that we do, and there's been surveys about what the city does that residents typically find very unpopular, you know, things that aren't at the top of the list of priorities. And so he loves to point to sustainability initiatives. And it's clear to me that from what Rasevich has said, that in his mind, everything in the suite of sustainability activities that the city is undertaking is not core. These are not things the city should be doing, and that you can take that entire list of money, the millions of dollars, it's a tiny percent of what the city spends goes into these sustainability things. But yeah, all the millions of dollars that are going into sustainability initiatives, however you want to like define them, can just cut. You can just cut them. That's like $10 million. It's $50 million, $100 million. I think it was like 10. The city could save just by cutting all of them. Just get rid of them all. So yeah, that's his first item that he pointed out. He pointed out the money that's being spent on, he called it a sweat lodge. It's an Indigenous cultural center. He brought this up at the last budget. Another one of those frickin' moments where you're just like, shut up, dude. You're digging yourself into a deep fucking hole. Please stop talking, white man. Because again, he doesn't understand the context of what's going on. He doesn't know where this investment is coming from. He just sees a dollar figure against something he doesn't like, something he thinks is unnecessary. So at the last budget, he was like, why aren't Indigenous people paying for this themselves? Not having been to all the meetings where the city basically said that one of the sort of keynote things in our reconciliation activities that we're going to be doing at the city is we're going to be building this cultural facility that will include a sweat lodge. And that this is like effectively the city manager described it as a gift, right? As a gift to the Indigenous community within Regina to say, you know, you've been systematically fucked over for a really long fucking time. We have to start making amends for that. And one of those things is we're going to build as a city, as a community, a whole community of people. We are going to build this cultural facility where Indigenous people can gather with, you know, white folk like me occasionally and start to hammer out solutions and start to work towards that reconciliation. And that's a priority for our city. It was a priority for our last council that we have to start making some steps towards meaningful reconciliation. And this was a gift. in the city manager's words. I don't know if I'd use gift. Gift is a good word for it, but it's more, I don't know. It's like a measurable step forward. It's, I don't know. I think I said it better earlier, but yeah, I need to workshop my thoughts on this better. But what Councillor Rasevich was saying is that they should just build it themselves. If it's for them, they should build it. And the city manager tried to set him straight, saying, look, this is a gift from us. If we were to then go to them and say, you pay for it, we've got this nice shiny thing, and for you, we bought this present for you, but could you give us the money? Here's the receipt. Could you reimburse us for this present we bought for you? God, that's rude. And in this situation, it's not just rude, because another thing that Indigenous nations and the city have like a government to government relationship, right? Oh my God. And so they explained it to him, and he finally withdrew his request to cut that funding. But obviously, from what he said today, he walked away from that unconvinced. And it's going to come up again. He said that if there's another vote on that, he'll vote against it. Siglis brought up the $300 million for the pool. Again, the pool wouldn't cost as much as it's costing if council had recognized that this is one of their core services and had done this 10 years ago, but instead they decided to put it in development hell for a decade. And by the time they finally got started on it, it cost way more. Part of the reason we're building a big pool is so that we can retire things like Massey Pool. The rec plan is to go away from smaller community facilities to single larger destination facilities, because that's, according to administration, this is not coming from me, that according to administration, this is easier to administer and cheaper to administer and maintain. But yeah, this council hasn't been through any of those discussions. This council, and they seem untouched when they get things explained to them. Because once again, this whole motion has just been remedial city council instruction again. Once again, we are getting city administration having to take a deep breath and very patiently describe to city council what it is they do and how they do it, and explain to city council what their role in this relationship is, what administration's role in this relationship is. And at the end, it's just, you sure you couldn't just do our job for us? Because that's what they want, council. They just want to, I don't know, they don't want to do their job, which is the hard part of being a city councilor. They just want to take victory laps for making these gestures towards fiscal responsibility, because that's all this is. If another core services review comes out of this, these things cost so much money. Siglis keeps pointing to, this list, this survey that was done for the budget of what, most residents find the most important services that the city does. So this list of what the city residents consider core. And he wants administration to basically do that again, writ large, larger population, and give them the list that we already get from that test every year. And I guarantee you that on the list of core services that residents compile every year before budget, one of the things they do not include in their top 10 or even top 15 or top 20 things that the city services that are core, nowhere in there is endless surveys of city residents about what the city's doing. Nobody wants that to eat the head of city administration, because that's what happens if you do another core services review. It will absorb. You think the budget is eating up all of our time? You do a core services review, that's a year gone. It's just gone, because it will just absorb so many administrative resources. Oh God, don't do it. Here's a start. Go back, read the reports we've already done, Councillor Sigley's. Oh, here's another thing. Councillor Zakidniak raised this, and administration confirmed it. This came up at the City Council in Saskatoon to do something very similar to this, some kind of like service prioritization process. Administration went off, poured a bunch of resources over a year into this, and all they got out of it, all they had gotten done, were the criteria on how they would set what are core and what are discretionary. They brought that criteria report to City Council, and City Council was like, ooh, yeah, I don't think we want to do this anymore, and ended the process. Because the minute you start this process, you know how politically unpopular it's going to be. So the council's going to run away from it, right? Just like Councillor Mancinelli said, they can be told what's core, what's discretionary. They will only cut things as long as their freaking inbox doesn't fill up and their phone doesn't start ringing off the hook. Yeah. God, I'm dragging this out to what, like 25 minutes, even though I should have only done 15, because I don't want to go back in there. Coming up after this, I'm not sure what's coming up next. I do know that later in this meeting, we're going to be looking at that Brandt and Real deal. I spent an hour on Monday in a live stream going over that. So you could listen to that if you want to know what questions I have going into that discussion, which I, later today will hopefully get answered. I don't think Siklis's motion, this project services prioritization motion, is going to pass. I do think how it's going to get used, though, is Siklis is going to be able to walk away from this and say, look, I tried to save you money. I tried my best. I brought a motion forward that would have, cut property taxes by 5 to 10%. And these woke councillors, the woke councillors and woke administration, I don't know if Siklis is running around saying woke stuff. I'm building a straw man. I'm building a straw Siklis. Apologies. But yeah, council voted this down. And, so he comes out looking good, right? Somebody on Blue Sky actually suggested that's what's going on, is that he now has, like, whatever mill rate gets passed, he can now walk away from it saying, I tried. It's kind of like how Rasevich every year is like, I tried to cut flower pots. I tried to cut flower pots, and you guys wouldn't cut flower pots. And that's why we're having an 11% mill rate increase, whatever it's going to be. The mill rate increase is 5.86% as it stands right now. That's a proposed mill rate increase. It will definitely change before the next budget meetings. Those are in December. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing great. This is a very good coffee. I aced this one. I don't think it's as good as the one that I made on Monday, but it's up there. Okay. Thanks for following these things. Thanks for following me on Blue Sky. So I'm on Blue Sky. I'm at PD City Hall there. And tomorrow's Thursday. Aiden and I will be getting together for a meeting of the Queen City Improvement Bureau, 7 p.m. every Thursday on 91.3 FM CJTR, Access Now Community Radio, tuned into your community. So yeah, you can listen to that live. You can listen to us on your radio, in your car, real live radio, or you can listen to the live feed on the Access Now radio website. Excuse me. Or you can listen to us after the fact on our website, where a few days later, after we do a show, I will archive all of our episodes in full on our website. That's queencityib.com. And we have like nearly 10 years. Oh, no, God, we have more than 10 years worth of episodes compiled there. If you want to know what council was like back during Fougere, back during Masters, you can go back. You can listen to our old episodes and get caught up. You are lacking context on the pool. You're lacking context on, our Indigenous ceremony space. It's all there in the Queen City Improvement Bureau. Check it out. Go back in time, learn about all the stuff, get the context. We've been going over it all, making goofs on it all. I don't think we have a guest this week. It'll just be the two of us. All right. That's it. I am going to slouch back to the city council meeting, see where they're at. Hopefully they've made a decision on Sickles' motion. We've moved on to more germane things. Have a great day, everybody. Ciao.